something else in schedule later, or should I wait for the public comment, or?
This is fine. Certainly bring up any issues you have right now, I think.
Well, my big issue, and I have some people here from Cohasset, is the year-round Cohasset Fire Station. And you have a copy of the letter from the Emergency Services Director and the couple of the citizens. The biggest issue there is there's only one way in and one way out, and just they plain need public safety services. They need the rescue and fire, and particularly in light of this year's drought. Of course, we are funding, or the state, we're funding the fire station year-round, but in the future, it's just something that I think the county really has to consider, because there's a lot of people there that are really, there's really no side roads, there's really no other place to go, unless we consider doing something with Ponderosa Way, which would be just like a huge, huge issue, or going up north and going around, and that's not easy either. So I really would like to request that we strongly consider funding this. And when we had a community meeting, I don't know, whenever it was, February or so, we did have an estimate from the fire chief, and he thought it'd be $250,000 to fund it. And then I just got the numbers the other day, and now we're up to $391,000. So I don't know, can you say anything about that?
Yeah, I can say things, and I believe Chief McFadden is here. He can also address that. The discrepancy in the numbers, I think, at that evening when he was asked, he was kind of had to, kind of wing it a little bit as far as what he thought the numbers would be. The 390,000 number, he went back and he really looked it over and much more carefully. And again, he can explain what those numbers mean, and I think that's a more accurate assessment of what it would take to operate that station for a 7-month period. That it's now, I think we're only open 5 months typically during the summer months. It's interesting, this weekend we had a community meeting up in Butte Meadows that Supervisor Teeter hosted, and up there we had the same question also, as they have a station that's also closed down in the winter, and they're asking for it to be open possibly, especially during the, because of the dry times and things of that sort. And we have several stations that are closed during the winter months, and that could provide. And when you start figuring 400,000 here, a couple 100,000 there, I think that's the issue of how do we fund these things? What else are we not going to fund? And there are a number of priorities from the fire department that, again, Chief McFadden can address if the board so desires, that he would like to see funded, even in addition to these things, these different stations being opened. So it's not a matter that we don't value those areas or think that the need isn't there. It's a matter of resources and priorities as to what we can fund and what we can't within the fire stations. And that's an area that has a low level of activity, and again, the need. They're all needed for as far as we can see, but there's just priorities, and we don't have enough money to fund everything we'd like.
Well, you don't need it until you need it. And
I understand.
And I think it's the one way in and one way out is really the issue, and it's not just fires. It's storms. The storms several years ago, they had trees down that were blocking the road, and so if somebody had an emergency, they wouldn't be able to get to whatever hospital they so chose, which would probably Enloe, the closest. But Chief McFadden, maybe you can
expand a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, board members. Greg McFadden, interim fire chief. Just the dollar difference. That's what you want to address first. One thing I remember that if we open that station, we got to pull people out from their winter assignment and relocate them. And that reduces the pool of people that are in the relief pool. We call the relief pool that covers for vacation, workman comps, training that goes on, and they alleviate some of that overtime burden on the county. So if I relocate people up there year-round, I take that pool of people and make it smaller. So in order to keep the staffing level equal, so I have a coverage, proper coverage, I need to backfill those two positions that are being relocated to that station. So that's why the numbers came up a little.
Well, that means you need to hire new people?
I need to keep, yes, we need to hire two and a half additional people to keep that station open year-round, so the relief pool stays whole at the same time. And what we do value, and it's one thing you do good about, you talk about winter storms, we are very advocate about staffing that during the wintertime as well. So we know there's storms coming in there, and we know there's a wind event coming in, we will staff that in the middle of the wintertime, because we do know the one way in, one way out is a safety concern up there. All it takes is one tree or power lines to come across, and nobody can get in or out of there.
Yeah.
So we do take that very in consideration. We staff throughout the year when we can. We've had a luxury of this year on the state side because of the drought to be staffed since January, or basically February. And we always, that's the first station to open and the last station to close when we do the state staffing up there. So we've stretched out as far as we can. And then our focused recruitment on volunteers is our main drive to get more volunteers. So we have that depth of pool up there for that immediate response also. So we're working around it, and obviously it comes down to money and funding it.
Well, and the volunteer thing is, it's just more difficult now with the staffing requirements. Even though you've made it different levels,
Right.
It's still very hard. And frankly, most people that live up Cohasset can't earn a livelihood in Cohasset because there's not many businesses up there, so they have to be in town. So if they're a volunteer, they can't get there any faster than Station 44 or something. So.
Yeah.
That's why it's a big issue. So,
So we definitely understand the issue. We just got to figure the money to fund it.
oh, okay.
Chief, how many calls, what's your call up there? I mean,
Last year, there were around 80 calls for the total year. So,
My problem will be, then Feather Falls is going to come to me, Clipper Mills, even Concal could be considered one way in and one way out, and there becomes a choice to live in a rural area. You just don't get the same level of service.
and that's true. I mean, every community deserves the same level of coverage. And I look at, they're all valuable people and residents we've tried to protect, but the money to address those situations as a year-round staffing is a challenge. So on the state side, we do the best we can. We're doing vegetation management to make it safer for them when they're there during the summer months. So they have evac corridors that are safer to get in and out. From the state standpoint, we're doing a lot of things. From the county standpoint, to staff it year-round, that just comes down to dollars.
So are you using the SRA money to do these?
A lot of the SRA fee money right now is being used to do vegetation management along the highways and roads. And all those areas you talked about, Concal, Cohasset, they're all target areas for us to get through. But we got to go through the bureaucracy of CEQA and everything else to get set up in place before we can do the work. So the money's coming in, and the projects are being funded, and we're doing them. So Highway 32 is being done right now. Lower Skyway is being worked on right now. The commercials you've been watching, the PSA is being talking
Has
about.
Cohasset Road been done?
Cohasset has not been done, but it's targeted. It's the next one to come up. So we're working towards that. It's just a process of getting them in through the system, and then they get funded, and we go to work on them. And we're doing partnerships with the sheriff, too. We're hoping to be able to work with them and use their road crews to do more miles of clearance with the amount of money we have available.
Well, I have seen on TV a couple times, a couple of comments that, because of the clearance at particular homes, that the fires didn't spread, and, so it really works. But,
And that is SRA money that is funding those PRAs.
Right, that's right, money.
yeah. Yeah, well, at least we get something for that. But, well, I'm not going to give up on this. And we have some citizens that would like to also talk it. I don't know what time, they have to wait till after the department heads talk.
Yeah, and I don't expect a number of department heads, so I think we'll get the public testimony pretty quickly.
Okay. Don't go away.
Right there.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Is Susanna Malcolm.
Hi, I'm Susanna Malcolm, and I represent the Cohasset Community Association, and thank you very much, all of you, for letting us speak today. And I'm here to talk about funding the year-round fire station. Our community is very much in need of a station year-round. It's been wonderful to have it this winter. It's saved a lot of issues. Things that could have gone south really quickly were taken care of right away, and problems that were small didn't become big. And that's the biggest concern that we have, is that due to the drought conditions, we have fires starting in the winter time now, as you noticed from the Ishii Wilderness Fire, that you had to spend a lot of resources went into fighting that fire. If something comes up in Cohasset when the winter happens when there's no one up there. Now, in the drought conditions, it can spread into the wildland much more quickly. There are people whose wells have gone dry or have very limited water resources, and they can't be the first responder out there with their hose anymore because their water runs dry in a very short period of time. And if it gets into the wildland, the expense of fighting it is going to be astronomical. And even though it seems like a large amount of money that would be going into staffing it year-round, it's not nearly as expensive as fighting a wildland fire that gets out of control. I know response times up there from Chico are not as quick as one would expect if you've driven up there, because the fire trucks take a long time to get up there. They're heavy, they go very slow. Recent response last year in southern Chico area was over almost an hour, 54 minutes to get the first people on the scene. And in upper Cohasset, it takes a lot longer. Also, medical calls, the same thing. We do have changed situations also, as well as that when a lot of us moved up there, we had a viable volunteer fire department. Now we're down to 3 members, 2 of whom work out of town, and it's a rare occasion when they are available to answer a response. And we haven't had a lot of luck with trying to recruit new people. As Maureen mentioned, most people work off the hill and are not available to do this kind of thing. We had a group of people, well, we had Kathy who put around a petition asking you to consider this, and Maureen thinks there's probably close to 200 signatures on this position. We had a meeting back in February or March that over 80 people came out at. We have not had as many people come out today because we had people out of town who were the ones who would have disseminated the information about this meeting to the community, and so the ball kind of rolled away before we realized it, but we do have people out here now. And really, we would really appreciate you considering this funding source. Thank you.
This is the last card. Wishes of the board.
You know, I didn't bring the petition, but truly there is about 200. It's in my file at work, and I'm sorry I forgot to bring it. So there is a huge interest up there, and a huge worry too. I mean, so I just plead with you on that, and I don't know at what point we make amendments or motion.
You're ready to make motions if and again, we had a list of recommendations. I believe the first one would be you've already holding the public hearing on the budget and taking comments. The second recommendation is to approve the recommended budget, including adjustments for spending authority. And really, you can take 2, 3, 4, and 5 together, recommendations 2, 3, 4, and 5. 6 has to be separate, but if any amendments that you want to make to that budget, now would be the time, Supervisor Kirk, or any others. But our recommendation is as presented, and again, you could take one action, I believe, for those 4 action items.
Well, I'd like to make a motion for year-round funding for the Cohasset Fire Station. I truly think it's needed. I understand there's other communities, but I guess Cohasset has been, they've been on the waiting, as I look through my files from before even when Mary Ann Hawks was there, this has been an issue for 20 years or so. So it's just exacerbated because the volunteers are not as available as they used to be able. And there's more people, there's more foliage, even though we're trying to work on it. So I truly think it's needed. So I would like to make that motion that we add this to the Schedule A, is what we would add it, right?
Be actually Schedule B.
B, okay, B.
I don't see it getting a second. I think so.
I just got to speak up. I can't second it because I've had the same issues, and I don't bring them to the board, but Clipper Mills, their volunteers all died away, and so they depend on a volunteer station from another county. And then Feather Falls, I think there's just one guy maybe there. I don't even know if anybody staffs an engine there anymore, and so I have the same issues. And then I got Forbes Town, I got could go down the line. They're all in the same boat. I do have a thought, though. They could form their own fire district. They could tax themselves $100 a month or something, and then contract back and pay it that way. Unfortunately, that seems to be, if you're in a rural area, where we're headed. So I'm empathetic, and I understand it, but I can't, because I can't go face my own people. Did I forget Berry Creek? They have a very viable volunteer group, and it seems to be helping them a lot and keeps them going. They're the kind of the exception of all my rural communities.
So is their station 5 months, and then the rest of the time it's volunteer?
We've got,
No, they have a separate volunteer, they staff it year-round.
we have 5
Oh, that's what I
Amador
thought, they were
stations.
year-round, yeah. That's
How many Amador stations do we have? 5? 6? There's quite a few of those.
They closed, but the volunteers at Bear Creek are the only one I have left up there.
Yeah. Now, I will say, just on the volunteer stations, there's a very active recruiting going on for volunteers right now, but I mean, it's tough.
I think the biggest breakthrough we had is when we decided to tier the volunteers. Not everybody has to be an
Yeah.
EMT.
Right, we have a support role, EMS
Right.
role, full responder, and then also a operator. And we just were awarded over a $300,000 grant for recruitment retention, and that goes in effect July 1. And then we have a focused recruitment during August and September. So last year was very, very successful. We had 33 new volunteers come into the program. That was the biggest influx of volunteers we've had in many, many years. So our focus this year is on the east side of the county. We don't need any more volunteers in the valley. We always love volunteers, but we're saturated in the valley floor. But we need volunteers on the east side. So our focused recruitment this year will be the east side, and making those flyers and getting out announcements and letting people know that if you're an EMS responder, we need you just as much as we need you as a fire responder. So EMS is 70% of our call volume. But that's what we really need. In the wintertime, Cohasset needs EMS responders, and we want to hopefully encourage that and move that forward. A response is happening, no matter where you are in the county. A response is happening. We are responding to the location. It's just time to get there. Obviously, we're always fighting against time, whether it's a fire or a medical call. But that's where we're at right now, and I know it's a challenge. All the communities have a level of service that they desire, and the dollars only go so far, and we got to kind of replace everything where we can as best we can.
Have you had many medical calls this winter in Cohasset?
I don't have the records right in front of me. I can't say that we had 10 or
I know there's been
110.
some fires, but I didn't know about the other.
Yeah.
Maureen, I just feel that we could just beat each other up of trying to, get what's best for our district. I feel I'm pretty lucky, because most of it's the town of Paradise. Magalia has a full coverage fire station. Butte Meadows had the same thing. But I feel that, our sheriff is lacking in, areas too. And I really think we got to trust staff that they're going to put our safety services where it's best for the amount of money we have. And so I just wanted to,
Well, my
See, I'm with the
folks
staff.
have been active, though, and and they're here, they've written letters, I haven't heard from any of your other, I'm just saying that,
Because I didn't bring it back. I've been to Clipper Mills no less than 5 times. The former chief and I met with them. We worked on that. We helped them get a well, painted their building. I just didn't bring it back here because they're in a rural lifestyle. Feather Falls, I can't remember the gentleman's name, he used to call me once a month for a couple of years.
And we're actually without any volunteer in that area right now for the.
Yeah, that one guy is probably gone. And
Well, he's inactive.
yeah, that's that, yeah. So I just don't bring it back, each one of them.
okay, well,
And there is a point that if you live out in the country, it's just different. It's tougher. It's,
Like I said, as you guys know, we stretch it as far as we can on the state side. We early up as early as we can on the state side to give those communities, and we had an option not to have Cohasset staffed at all during the wintertime, but I felt it was important that we give every community the best coverage we can. I could have put that augmented staffing from the state side somewhere else, but
Well,
it was
thank
our
you,
discretion to make sure that communities are best protected as best we can, so. Anything else?
okay, well, I don't know what else to say.
find ways to make
bring
more
back
money.
a way to get volunteers to, or something.
Well, we tried that, and we did look at a community service district, or whatever you call it, but we haven't looked at that lately, but, expensive.
I know.
Yeah.
It'd be about $1,400 a person.
It's just tough. I mean, that's part of living in remote, I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, it's unfortunate, that's just, I preach this all the time, we can't give service to everybody. You live in a floodplain, and you get flooded, you built in a floodplain. You build up, I mean, you kind of, if you want those kind of services, you have to live in town. If you don't want to live in town, then you have to get, everything has to give. I mean, I don't want to live in town because I don't want to have neighbors, so I live out there. So,
You have a horrible road.
So I complain about my...
Don't gripe about your road,
I
then.
say, I was going there. How'd you know I was going there? And I gripe about my gravel road all the time, But I was a gravel road when I moved there, and I knew that when I came, but I still get to have a mic now, so I get to gripe about my gravel road all the time. But
Somebody visited you with your gravel road, so, I don't know, somebody, and couldn't believe how awful it was.
it's an awful road.
Yeah.
It always comes back to that, doesn't it?
It is
And
an
they
absolutely
said,
awful
does
road.
he have it that way on purpose so people won't come? And I said, I don't think so. Yeah.
It is awful, but you know what, I knew that, and that's unfortunate, that's how it is. I mean, it'd be nice if you had a wealthy area to do all those kind of things, and you can't do everything. But I feel you, I mean, I understand that. And I bring up Summit County, but that's almost all of them, I mean, quite a few volunteer departments down there runs that deal. I was in one for years down there growing up, and my family was too, and it's all volunteer. I mean, we have...
Down there where...
Sonoma County.
Oh.
We've got, besides the municipal city departments, there's, I think, CAL FIRE's got a few stations in Glen Ellen and then out towards Cope, but there's not a lot, I mean, it's still a lot of volunteers. So, I mean, it's tough to get people, but, if people get involved, they can do it. It's unfortunate, as it changed over the years, and I kind of gripe about it a little bit, that we have to have all these rules for volunteers. I mean, it used to be, as long as you put that jacket on and a helmet on, you could put water on it, And now that, we got much more complicated, and the fire departments do a lot more than put fires out now, and I understand that. But I still think that the cheer thing was great. That was positive, but unfortunately, our society's changed to the point where you have to make sure if a guy tries to help you out and doesn't help you quite right, then you could sue him. So we have to protect ourselves, and that's what happens. That's the outcome of an over-litigious type society we live in. So it's too bad, but that's how it is. Sorry, I digress.
That's good digression. Late in the moment.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
So we're still at we could make a motion to do 2, 3, 4, and 5 as staff has presented, or the recommended. Or we can talk about more stuff, ask for more information.
Well, I'm not going to make a motion for the recommended budget because that's not what I want. So somebody else could do that.
Well, I didn't even ask for just 1.2 million for the vet memorial.